Did you know that over 30 to 40% of ad budgets are wasted every month just because businesses keep running their fatigue creatives, which is no longer performing? Imagine if you could catch that early, before your clicks drops, before your conversation stops, and before Meta and Google drains your budget. So in this video, I will be showing you how I built a fully automated system using N8N, which detects the fatigue in real time so that you can pause your bad ads and relocate that budget intelligently. So if you ever run the ads at scale, you probably notice that when the ad is started, the CTR stays strong, then the cost per click stays low, and conversation also looks healthy. But then suddenly something happens and your ad starts to tank. The number starts to tank. That is the creative fatigue. When your ad stops resonating with your audience, there the problems comes in. So we are trying to solve these problems because marketers don't catch it early enough because they are relying on the manual data reviews and the manual inputs, which takes some time, and that's exactly where the systems comes into the picture. So let's hop onto the screen and let's see how it is working. So let me show you first our workflow in action. So let's just first click on the test workflow. So now it is working. So I will explain you all this step one by one, but before that I will show you how it is working and what actually it is giving us as output. So now it is executing. It is sending one mail. We will be receiving two mails, one with the detailed analysis of the current situation, that how it is performing and how what all information we need to understand from this data, and second one is the creative fatigue. So once the creative fatigue threshold has been reached, it is sending one mail to provide us the information that we have reached, means we are near to reach the creative fatigue, so that you can either change the creative or stop that ad or whatever you think which is good for good for that advertisement. Yeah. So now this is working. So now the last mail is also has been sent. So let's check in the mail. So now I have refreshed the mail. So we have received two mails, one with the creative fatigue detected. So let's check that email first. So we have data in that two creatives is near to fatigue. So this is the report for that creative ID creative underscore 002 is experiencing declining click-through rate and no conversion over the past few weeks, indicating the potential audience loss. So the reason for it is significant drop in CTR from previous averages, showing reduced engagement, then increasing the CPC, suggesting diminishing returns on spend. The frequency is nearing the level that typically indicates audience fatigue, and it suggested some actions that consider refreshing the creatives to re-engage the audience, test different targeting options to expand the reach, monitor performance closely, and adjust bid strategies to control CPC. The confidence our model has been given is 0.85%. So that is the confidence. So we can consider it as a 85%. It is confident about this. For the second, also this creative fatigue means it is indicated that it is also having the creative fatigue with 40% drop in CTR and no conversion over the major period. Its creative ID is creative underscore 003, and the reason for this is given here, and the suggested actions also it has mentioned. So this is the mail for the creative fatigue. Now let's check the email for the ad creatives analysis. So it is giving us the report, that full report with the analysis, like it is creating some images, some graph to demonstrate it properly. So for the three creatives, it has given us one graph. So this first graph is for the frequency, how the frequency is behaving. So this is for the creative 1, this is for the creative 2, this is for the creative 3. We can see that the creative 1 is around constant, but the creative 2 frequency is steadily increasing. Then creative 3 is also constant. Here in the below of this diagram, we can see that it has created some description to understand, which will help us to understand what this graph says and what it means. Like the creative 1 frequency remains stable around 1.07 to 1.08 throughout the observed period, indicating the ad is not being oversaturated For the second, it is saying that frequency is slightly increased from 1.04 to 1.11, suggesting increase in exposure, which may contributing to lower CTR also. Then for the CTR creative 3, it is saying that frequency remains constantly low at around 1.02 and 1.03, which could be a factor on its low CTR. This is the description. Then this is the second image which is generated for the CTR. So how the CTR is performing in previous days. So for the creative 1, the CTR is around constant. For the creative 2, the CTR is decreasing. This is the slope, we can see that. For this creative 3, this is steady but it is decreasing. So it has given us the proper description for that also. Then finally we can see that there is a graph which is created for the creative fatigue. So this is the fatigue percentage. For the creative 1, there is no fatigue, we can see that it is very low. But for the second and third creative, we can see that this percentage are 0.45 and 0.44, which is near to fatigue. So this is the explanation. So this is how our system is creating the report, and which is very helpful on our day-to-day basis, so that we can understand that our ads are performing better or not. Should we shift the budget of those ads, or should we stop that ads and create new creatives and launch those? So yeah, so let's see our whole workflow step by step. So firstly, we are using the Google Drive. So we have one Google Sheet. In that Google Sheet, we have given some mock data. So that mock data we are using as a API response. So instead of that, we will in the real time, we will be using the API response from your ad account. So let me show you the Excel, how it looks. So this is the Excel. It is having all the information. Then it is having the CTR, CTC, then the frequency, and all the information which is needed. Clicks, impression, CTR, CPC, CPM, conversion, frequency, then quality, and all this information. This is the Excel which we are using as a mock data. So firstly, we have referred that data from the Google Drive. We have downloaded that. In the next step, we have extracted Excel. Then after that, we are normalizing that data into the required format. So let's see in the normalized data. So we have the multiple data, but we don't require that much data. We need only the starting date, creative ID, ad ID, campaign ID, impressions, clicks, spend, conversion, CTR, CPC, CPM, frequency, quality ranking, and engagement rate ranking. So we are extracted those, and there are 42 items. So if we can see the JSON, we have this data in the array of objects. Next, we are grouping all the creatives by ID, so that we can have the information related to that creative. So for creative ID 1, these all are the rows which we have created using this group by creatives. So for the creative ID, this is the data. Similarly, for creative 2 and creative 3, it has created the groups. So for that, we have used this code. So we have just grouped it by its creative ID. So this is the code for that. Then the next important part and the core heart of the system is this compute signal. So how it works? So let me show you this by one presentation. So yeah. The problem which we are solving is ads lose effectiveness over time because the CTR drops and spends rises. We want to detect when an ad creative is getting fatigue. So for that, to calculate the fatigue ad, we can see that the less engagement and wasted budget. So the data which we are using to calculate this is CTR, spend, frequency, and days to track for this. Then for the our calculation, we are using the 7-day window frame. So we can easily identify the short-term performance patterns. Also, the 7 days window smooths out the daily noises, but it catches the recent trends. Then we are comparing the last 7 days versus the previous 7 days to see the CTR changes, like the last 7 days and 7 days before the last 7 days. So this is how we are calculating the CTR calculation. So how we are calculating the CTR drop. So we are calculating the average of previous CTR, like the last of previous. So that average minus the last average CTR divided by previous average CTR into 100. So it is giving us the CTR drop percentage. For example, if CTR fell from 1.5% to 1%, then it means that it is a drop in 30, means drop of 33% during the week period. We are calculating the linear slope. So a linear slope will be very useful to understand the trend of the CTR or the any which we are using, that is the spend or the CTR. So if the slope is positive, it means that the trend is rising. If the slope is negative, it means that trend is falling. So for that, we are using the least square method, and to calculate that slope, we are using this formula. This formula is n into sum of xy minus sum of x into sum of y divided by n into sum of x square and its sum minus sum of x whole square. So it is giving us the scope. So in the n equation, n means the number of data points, then x and y is going to be the axis. So like if we are calculating the CTR, so slope for the CTR on the day basis, so then the y will be the CTR and x is going to be the day. So this is how we will be calculating the slope for the CTR, then the spend. This is just the formula. The code is in there. We will be looking at that code also. Then predict. So how we will be predicting? So we have considered the threshold as 0.3% for the CTR, so that we can consider that as the ad is considered to be dead. So and how we are calculating the days, means in how many days this ad is going to be dead. So for that we are doing one calculation, one simple mathematical calculation, that is threshold minus last CTR divided by CTR slope. If the slope is negative, it means that the CTR is getting decrease, and we can predict the days before the performance will collapse. So similarly, we are using the frequency. The frequency means the how often a person sees that same ad again and again. So higher frequency means ad fatigue. It can arise ad fatigue. Then we have normalized that, divided means by taking the average frequency divided by 5, and we are taking the mean of 1 and that value. So this is how we are calculating the normalized value for the frequency. Then we are calculating the spend slope. So if the spend slope is greater than 0, then we are spending more, and if the CTR is dropping, then it means a very red flag, and it is direct indicator of what we can say it, fatigue. So if we combine everything to calculate the fatigue score, then we can use the weighted CTR drop, then the weighted frequency and the spend. So we will be multiplying that with the 60%, 25% and 15%. So the fatigue score is, to calculate the fatigue score, we will be using 0.6 into CTR score plus 0.25 into weighted frequency plus 0.15 into weighted spend. So we are clamping that value between 0 and 1, so that we can get the binary value that if the fatigue is rich or not. So the interpretation from this is, if the fatigue score is between 0.0 to 0.3, then we can consider this as ad as healthy. If it is between 0.3 to 0.6, we can watch that closely. If it is greater than 0.6, then we can directly say that fatigue has started, and if it is greater than 0.8, it means we need to immediately stop that ad and refresh the creatives. So this all was the information regarding means how we are calculating. So this is the code to calculate the linear slope. We are calculating a linear slope. We are using that equation here to calculate these values. Then we are calculating the last window, previous window. Like I told you that we are considering the 7 days window. Then we are calculating the averages. Then we are calculating the CTR drop in percentage. Then we are calculating the average frequency and all those information to calculate the fatigue score. So after this whole calculation, we are getting this as output, that for the creative ID 001, the date date, impressions, clicks, spend, conversion, CTR, CPC, CPM, frequency. This all information is there. So we can see that the this have given us this as an output. So let's move ahead and let's calculate if it is fatigue or not. So to consider if it is fatigue or not, we have to consider the fatigue score. The fatigue score is here. I will show you in the table. So this all the columns has been created for the every creative. So this is the creative, this is the rows, last average CTR, previous average CTR, CTR drop percentage, average frequency, spend slope, CTR slope, last CTR, predicted days to threshold, and fatigue score. So this is the fatigue score for the first creative, and this is very healthy. So this is not qualifying our condition. So this will not be considered as a fatigue. But for the second and third, the values are very different. So for the second one, if you can see that the fatigue score is 0.45, it is qualifying the fatigue threshold, that is a 0.35. So it is considered as a fatigue, and predict it our calculation, our linear slope have identified that the predicted days to threshold is 4 days. So in 4 days, this is going to reach the fatigue, and this ad is no longer going to work. So this is how we got the rows items to understand which creatives is going to be fatigue in few days. So we are passing this data to the OpenAI's node. So this is the prompt which we have given, that you are an experienced ad performance analyst and you will receive a JSON summarizing a creative recent performance metrics and time series. So we have given him the fields that what it needs to give us as output. So this is the system prompt, this is the user prompt, and this is the output which is given to us. Then in the next step, we have just formatted this in a proper structure to be shown in our inbox. Then we have just sent it that email, and we have added one label as important to that. So this is how the fatigue is sent. Then how means to map these charts, to create this chart, this functionality is used. So first we are calculating we are creating the data to create that chart. So to create that data, firstly we are taking all the items, then we are checking if we have any creatives or not, then we are taking the labels. For the labels we are using the date. Then firstly we are creating the CTR dataset. For that we are using the labels, data, then the field, border color, then the tension. Similarly, we are creating the dataset for the frequency and the dataset for the fatigue score. So this is the code for this, and we are returning this in a JSON object. So this is the output. Here are the labels and all the dataset which is used for mapping of this chart. So this node is not useful. I have just added that to prepare the HTTP body, but I found that this is not needed. So then we have make few requests to this API, that is the quick chat IO chat and create. So it is creating us the chat which we are using to send in the report. So this have created chart. For that it needs some information, that is the data and all the information. So here we can see that in the chart we have given all the data points and all the stuff which we have created in the previous node. Then we have given the width, height and format. So this is how it looks. And we have made 3 requests, for the frequency one, for the CTR chat, and one for the fatigue request. After that we are merging this whole 3 data, and we are giving that data to our message model OpenAI's node. What it is doing, that it is we have given it some prompt to analyze this data and give us that data in a proper format, in a proper HTML format. So it has given us that data in the proper HTML format. So here we can see the output, that is the CTR description, Then all this information is given here, frequency and fatigue description. In the next node, we have just combined it properly so that we can pass that to our HTML node. So here we have passed whole information to this HTML node, and this have created this report which we will be sending over the email. So this report has been created using this HTML tag. Then finally we will be sending this report using this Gmail node. In that Gmail node we will be using our to configure this, we just need to add the resource operation to subject, email type and the message. So that's it for today's video.